What's up, family? This is Caden with Urban Finance. Today I have for you your stimulus check update video, and I'll also be talking about potential rent relief and rent subsidies, as well as student loan relief. And so this video is coming out a little later than the last video I put out because I really want to make sure that these videos are beneficial and it have the latest and newest updated information as it relates to when our government is actually going to pass this stimulus check for the American people. I also don't plan to make these videos longer than they have to, especially to maximize my revenue on YouTube by making it 8 minutes, which means that sometimes it may not have a lot that is happening on that day, and the video may be 1 minute or 2 minutes, but I promise you it will be beneficial. If you haven't already, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be notified when I post something new. Okay, let's jump into the video. One of the big things that we talked about in the last video is whether or not the Senate would go on recess and how that would affect the timeline. So we got word from Mitch McConnell today, Mitchy Mitch like I like to call him, that they are going to actually extend their recess or push out their recess, and they will be meeting or convening on Monday. So that's good news for the American people. At least we know they plan to stick around, especially if we get this deal tomorrow. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have honestly been flexing their muscle as it relates to the stimulus check and the negotiations. And this is primarily because they control the House and they have a large majority of the people that will be voting in favor of whatever bill that is passed. Because a lot of Republican senators don't need to vote in favor of this bill and will probably not vote in favor of the bill in principle. So you really need a huge support from the Democrats in order to get this bill passed in the Senate. There are those Republicans that are in highly contested states right now. So those people will most likely vote in favor of the bill because it will hurt their chances of re-election if they don't. And so that's why Democrats have so much sway right now for this particular stimulus package bill. Let's keep going. Currently, one of the big disputes that is delaying our stimulus check from coming is over postal service funding. Yes, this is what they are fighting over right now. And so it's like they really do not understand what the average American is going through right now in this pandemic, with most of the people that have lost their jobs are now underemployed and can't afford to pay their rent. Even yesterday on one of my videos, someone posted that their landlord had literally just given them an eviction notice and gave them about 7 days to vacate the property. This is literally happening to thousands, if not millions of Americans right now. And I feel like if Congress and our Senate had more friends that were in the current predicament that many Americans face themselves in, that they will be moving a lot faster. One good update that person did give me is that they actually did not get evicted and don't necessarily have to leave as fast as the landlord said they had to because a judge never signed the eviction notice. And we know since the beginning of this pandemic that a lot of landlords have been trying some underhanded techniques to get people out, even in federally subsidized housing. And don't get me wrong, I understand. I plan to own real estate property myself. These landlords have bills to pay. But, you know, does human life mean anything? Okay, maybe I'm going on a tangent. Let's move on. And I think this story is one reason why it's so important to know what the laws are in your state, especially at a time like this around eviction notices. And some states are very progressive on this issue, like a state like Massachusetts or a city like Boston. People just can't be kicked out on the streets without moment's notice. And so you do have time in states like this. And I know some states went ahead on their own and passed laws in order to put a moratorium on eviction. So our current red line seems to be their dispute over funding for the U.S. Postal Services, aid to state and local government, because we know Trump also came out strongly in opposition to that aid. And they also have, let's say, the expanded unemployment, which is more or less really resolved right now. We know from an anonymous source that during the discussion, the Republican Party had proposed cutting the $600 unemployment check down to $400. And Nancy Pelosi and them put a hard stop to that particular motion because that was a red line for them. And so that's one of the reasons that, you know, a lot of people saying that they're being unreasonable right now, which may or may not be true. If we keep getting closer and closer to this deadline of Friday and not get a bill, we may be pushed back to a worst case scenario, even though the Senate plans to delay their recess. And the worst case scenario, like you will see from the timeline that I presented to you in my last video, is that they go on break and we don't get something passed until September after they come back from the recess. And so that would be the worst case scenario. And I hope we don't get there. And so tomorrow will really be one of the big days to let us know, are we going to have a breakthrough in this thing, or are we going to potentially have to wait till September to get a bill passed for the American people? So these are the people that are really having a conversation right now. And dare I say, the people that can probably be blamed if we don't reach a deal very soon. All right. So we have Nancy Pelosi, obviously, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, Mark Meadows, the White House Chief of Staff, Senator Chuck Schumer. And notice that Mitch is not really in the conversation that much. And Trump is not really in the conversation that much, which is probably a good thing, because the more people that is a part of the conversation, the more it gets complicated. And these are also the people, like I said, that will probably be the ones to blame if we don't get a deal. If those that are highly involved in the conversation do make a deal, it will be up for Mitch McConnell in order to get as much Republican senators on board with this thing as he possibly can. And also for the Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, to make the recommendation to Trump and for him to accept that recommendation. And we know that Trump has an A+ rating on accepting the advice of his advisors. So I expect this to go completely smoothly. I promised one of my subscribers that I would give an update on the student loan portion of these bills, because they said no one was really covering it. And that may be because there's no one really interested in the student loan relief portion of these bills who actually have student loans beyond 10 years after college. I mean, that's like unheard of, for people to not pay off their student loans 10 years out of college. So maybe no one else is interested, but I'm still going to do this update just for them. But if you do have student loans still, let me know in the comment section below. It can be 10 years after college. It can be 3, 4, 5 years after college. It could be 15, 16, 17 years out of college. I'm curious. If you're watching this and you have student loans still, let me know in the comment section below. I'm just curious. You may not have made it this far in the video. It is a pretty long video. At least I hope they subscribe to the channel, else they probably won't get this update. So make sure you smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, let's jump into this update. We are currently still under the CARES Act student loan provision, which ends October 1st. And this includes pausing all payments for federal student loans, as well as setting the interest rate at zilch, halting collections of federal student loan debt, and counting non-payments of federal student loans debt towards the 120 currently required monthly payments for public service loan forgiveness. I know a few YouTubers are probably happy about that. All right, let's keep going. In the HEROES Act specifically, House Democrats wanted $10,000 of student loan relief. They had a few more other stuff in there, but that was the big thing. You were getting $10,000 on student loan relief. And I really haven't heard anything about this. And so it may not even be a big bargaining chip. So there's probably a good chance that we will not get this in the actual bill that passed. But it was a nice gesture, I guess. And as far as for what the Senate may or may not want to include in their plan, would be close to the Alexander's plan. And this is essentially no income, no payment. So if you don't have an income, you don't have to make a payment. So I guess it is helpful for those that don't have an income at all, but it's not much different than what we currently have for the most part, to be honest. If you do have an income, your monthly student federal payments will be 10% of your discretionary loan. And just look up the Alexander plan. That will give you a lot of information on what the Senate is proposing and some potential stuff that may be in the bill. Probably not. You also get student loan forgiveness after 20 years for undergraduate student loan and 25 years for graduate student loan. Very similar to what we have right now, to be honest. And the months where you paid zero will count towards the 20 to 25 years for student loan forgiveness. And so the months that you had no money to pay and couldn't pay will still count. So, just count your blessings, I would say. And I'm not going to really guess where we will end up with the student loan package in whatever bill they propose, because like I said, we really haven't got much information about them talking about this or highly debating this portion of it. And it's probably because they don't respect students as much as they should. On a lighter note, Twitter finger-in-chief said that he will unilaterally impose a federal moratorium on evictions, as well as eliminate payroll taxes completely. To where Nancy Pelosi actually said that he probably could do the federal moratorium, but really have no sway over the payroll or stimulus checks because he doesn't control the purse. All right, family, this is Caden with Urban Finance. And if you enjoyed the video, please tap that like button for me, subscribe to the page, and join our family. And like I always say, remember to live your best life.